But here's the biggest thing I took away from Vegas's play. And I don't think enough of it has been highlighted on the Montreal side, but Vegas's attack, which I think is pretty balanced with the forward lines that they have, they're capable of getting production from their defense. Everyone except Alex Pietrangelo for the Vegas Golden Knights in game 1 got at least 1 point. At least 1 point. Some guys
I think the defense
2.
combined for 7 points for Vegas last night.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Pietrangelo, who again did not have a point, led all skaters with 7 shots on net. Yeah. So the Vegas Golden Knights, yes, they have the guys up front with their lines who are able to contribute offensively, but the Shea Theodore goal to start off the game, the shot fake from Theodore later on leading to Alec Martinez getting that goal, Nick Holden near the end of the game as well. The Golden Knights have shown that they're able to get production from pretty much anybody on this team. And that's something the Montreal Canadiens, they have not been able to do. I know some people brought up the fact that, hey, man, this team is really missing Jeff Petrie, and this team is missing Jeff Petrie. But even from an offensive standpoint, which Jeff Petrie, that's his best asset. Like, he only has 3 assists to this point in the playoffs here. Like,
I think you got to give him a bit more than just his offensive game. I think he stabilizes a lot of things for the Habs, especially in this playoff run.
I mean, I agree, but I also think
but when I know, to build off your point, when you think of Jeff Petrie, probably their best gifted offensive defenseman.
But it's really only a name only, because him, Joel Edmondson, Shea Weber, I'm blanking on the other defenseman. Eric Gustafsson.
You're talking about goal. You're talking about points?
Points. All 4 of those guys have 3 points each. Ben Sherrod has played 12 games to this point and has not picked up a point.
Yeah.
And it's a small thing to focus on here, but in a series where one thing people brought up was the fact that the Canadiens, the style that they play, there are some similarities you can point out with the Vegas Golden Knights. And you're right. Like, in that first period, the Canadiens were not fazed at all by the fact that they were playing on the road. They imposed themselves at different points, and really it was the fact that Vegas was just able to get those goals in. And maybe it's more of a Captain Obvious thing, but you can look you can kind of take a step back and look from a micro point of view. Like, they saw as if the Canadiens were completely destroyed, and I know Carey Price did his thing, but you could point to certain things that the Canadiens did well. But one glaring thing that I think Vegas has over Montreal that maybe we didn't necessarily prop up too much is the fact that not only is their defense, in terms of the names, a bit higher quality, but they can provide more offense than the Canadiens defense, who up until game 4 of the playoffs against the Winnipeg Jets had not gotten a goal from a defenseman all postseason. Eric Gustafsson was the guy who scored the first goal for as a Canadiens defenseman all postseason long. And I think that's a problem.
Definitely, especially when you look at what happened in game 1, and this didn't just happen out of nowhere in game 1. Vegas executed this style of attack well throughout the Colorado series as well. Like, they ran on a 4 straight win streak against Colorado. They had to they activate their defensemen very well. And one thing that I want to say is your colleague over in Las Vegas, Jesse Granger, who's covering the series for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's their beat reporter. He made it, quite clear in his article post game 1 that Alex Pietrangelo has taken a step up in the postseason. This was the team's massive big fish signing in last season's free agency period, and I guess you could say it was an underwhelming regular season for him after what you've seen his profile of work in St. Louis. So, and he's really stepped up, and I mean, he was terrific in game 1 of the semifinals. Almost said conference finals. But Shea Theodore also woke up, who was kind of asleep again during the Colorado series. He played a terrific game. You could say he was probably the best skater on the ice, both teams. You could probably say that. And then maybe another defenseman that I'm quite surprised with is Brayden McNabb. Very physical, very grind you down type of guy, kind of like a Ben Sherratt, but he just fits their style of play very well. I think it's clear, Julian, we can say that the Canadiens hurt themselves with the amount of penalties. I think they lost their heads a little bit in certain parts of the game. Not to
I'm
the point that
intrigued
they
by
were
that.
not by the to the point where I want to say, when I say lose their heads, they didn't get super hot headed where they did where it was reckless acts. It was just useless type of penalties. That I think back to Phil Deneau, who's the team's one of the best teams penalty killers, taking that avoidable hook on, what was it, Mark Stone or someone in the corner there. Uh, it, I
I
think
forget who
that
he I
cost
forget
them.
who he hooked, but yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
But I do remember he did take a penalty.
yes, and Ben Sherratt too, who, by the way, on the Shea Theodore setup to Alec Martinez. Alec Martinez, another name who scored a goal for the Vegas Golden Knights on the defensive side of things. Ben Sherratt came out of the penalty box and basically played defense, leaving that entire high slot open when, it's an unusual circumstance to have three defensemen on the ice. But since Ben Sherratt came out, he tried to make up for being in the penalty box, and he just wanted to play defense when he should have maybe been playing a winger's position. But a player I'd like to see a bit more of, Julian, and I don't know if you sense this as well from Montreal's side of things. I feel like Josh Anderson really needs to. I know that he's playing a really good game. Like, he's playing to his strengths. You see his quickness, you see his physicality, but the goal scoring, the play creating aspect of his game. Aside from that one moment when he almost had a goal on Marc-Andre Fleury, he made a terrific save. I feel like this is a guy, Josh Anderson, who hasn't scored a goal since game one of the Toronto series. He has one goal these playoffs. And this is a guy who you'd expect to chip in at least a bit more than that to generate some momentum. And we just haven't seen it out of Montreal. But I did like, to get back to where we started, I did like Montreal's pace. I think they controlled the pace of play for the first 10 to 15 minutes. Then obviously that Shea Theodore goal through a screen, it kind of killed the vibe. Dominic Ducharme said they lost their rhythm. You have to be nearly perfect against the Vegas team, though, don't you? It's just like they really hurt you if you turn over the puck in your own end. They really, and Montreal's played a suffocating game from game 4 of the Toronto series and into the Winnipeg series. They suffocated their opponent. They didn't allow them to enter the zone super quickly. They killed them on the penalty kill, cutting off passing lanes or whatever, clearing the zone for Carey Price, clearing the crease for Carey Price. That wasn't done as much in game 1 against Vegas, and deservedly so. Let's give Vegas the credit that they deserve. They are a big physical team who impose their size on you. But Montreal's strengths, playing a suffocating style of hockey, at least until this point in the playoffs, was kind of reversed onto them by Vegas.